very, very good FA Cup final. And Hatchin! What a magnificent goal!
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Wednesday night's midweek show, All Things Sky Blue. This is the final game of the season as we travel to Watford to round off what has been an absolutely fabulous season of football for the Sky Blues. Before I bring Cameron on, we have also got a guest from the Watford podcast, Do Not Scratch Your Eyes podcast. They'll be joining us in around about 15 minutes' time. Before I bring Cameron on, I'll just get a bit of housekeeping out of the way. Our show is sponsored by Right Steel Fabrications. For all your fabrication needs across Coventry and the Warwickshire area, we are part of the Sky Blue Tavern, partner just over the Sky Blue Tavern and Dylan's Brewery, and we're teamed up with the Sports Social Podcast Network and sponsored by Sky and Friends Dog Walking and Pet Services. And obviously, please like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube and also follow us on X, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and podcast channels. If you listen to us on podcasts, we're also available on podcasts to listen at any time that you wish to listen to us, if you like us. Cameron, we'll bring him on now. Cameron, good evening. How are we doing?
Evening, mate. I am absolutely splendid. How about yourself?
Me too. I'm absolutely splendid as well. And it's so nice to talk about a game where we're not worrying about can we get into the top six. We're not worrying about can we get into the top two. We are top of the league. We've done it. It's a rare time as a Cov fan. So let's milk it. Let's enjoy where we are at the moment. It's brilliant, isn't it?
Indeed it is. And it feels weird going into a final game of a season where there's absolutely nothing to play for. Like, we're already champions. We're Watford. They're not going up, nor are they going down. We're on a very high. Their end of the season hasn't really been the best. So there is this sense of unknowing of what to expect, but that's quite exciting. There's not a lot to play for. We don't really know what type of team we're going to play, but hopefully we can end the campaign on a high and end the season with a win. Yeah,
no, definitely. I think it's a lovely game to have. I think the only time I could really think of where there was nothing right in the game is when we've been sort of outside the playoffs and not really looking like going up. So I think it's lovely to have this luxury of, being champions, not having to worry about it and enjoying the occasion before sort of the party happens. I suppose the one sort of news we did find out today about the game is that we'll be playing in our brown kit. What's your thoughts on the brown kit? Are you a fan or not a fan of the brown kit?
I'm a fan of it because people making genuine comments like, oh my God, that's genuinely awful. And I'm like, yeah, that's the point. That's literally the point of the kit. It's supposed to look awful. So it's so awful, it's actually good. So yeah. I kind of look forward to it. So hopefully we will see us in that brown kit. I mean, we are going to see us in that brown kit. And you know what? Let's go and get a comprehensive win in that brown kit. The only club who I can think of who actually play in brown as their home kit is St. Pauli. So I suppose that's a cool little connection. Two underdog clubs who over the years have punched above the weight, and both of them wearing brown kits. St. Pauli is the home kit, and we're wearing brown as our fourth kit, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, and I also we signed a long-term contract with Hummel, which is I love Hummel kits. Are you a big fan of Hummel as well, generally?
Yeah, I know they divide opinion, and the quality over the years it's subject to conversation. But what I like about Hummel is whether you like the kits or not is personal opinion. There's somewhere I'm like, oh, I'm not sure about that one. Some others I'm like, oh, that's a beauty. What you always get with Hummel is they will put effort into their designs. I remember when we had Puma like towards the end, or all those years with Nike, and there was just no effort put into those kits. Like I've seen better kits at Sunday League level, and they use the cheapest materials, and I'm like, hang on. It costs them 80p to make a shirt, and they'll sell a shirt like that for 60 quid, and it's just really poorly made. And with Hummel, you know you're going to get effort. So yeah, unless there's any better kit suppliers out there, I'm happy to stick with Hummel.
Up the Hummel, and I think I guess the the crap kits that we had, and I think of the Tesco kit when we won the Paint Pot Trophy as an example, was, in my opinion, a really, really poor kit. It was more white than sky blue. I thought it was embarrassing, shocking. But let's just look at the game itself on Saturday. Let's look at the personnel-wise. Are you expecting Lampard to sort of ring the changes, just to give players a rest and sort of play maybe more second-string players, or do you think he'll still go fairly strong this one?
I think he'll go fairly strong, but I also expect a couple of surprise starts. I think, this will be Jamie Allen's final game in a Coventry shirt, you would suspect. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if we actually see him start, because I think it'd be really nice to see him get that send-off. Jake Bidwell, I think in some capacity, I think we'll see him involved, for a similar reason. And, I don't know if I can see it, but I'd like to see Markello get his first start. Just, put him in the shop window, see what he can do. Shop window for potential loans next season if we don't see him as a first teamer in the Premier League. And you know what? This is a bit of a rogue shout, but I would like to see young George Shepherd on the bench and then given a chance off the bench in the second half, because he's done really well, signed his professional deal. He's made the step up from the under 18s to the under 21s quite effortlessly. He's been on the bench a few times, so there's not really a lot to play for. Give the young lad a debut.
So for those who haven't seen George Shepherd play, tell us more about him. What should we expect from him if he does play?
A play with no fear, I'd say. Like, he's not afraid to take people on. I think he's got very good technique. He's quite versatile. He can play central midfield. He can play the 10. He can also play on the right hand side. So what you get from him is a bit of versatility. Obviously, physically, that will need work. But he's not even an adult yet. So obviously that will come with as he continues to grow physically. But technically, very sound. He has a good finish on him as well. I watched Shepherd in the Premier League Cup when the under-21s played Leyton Orient. Game finished 1-1. George Shepherd scored a beautiful curling shot just outside the box, so he's definitely got a shot on him as well. Yeah.
No, well, I hope he does get a run out, because I think this is the ideal time to give someone a bit of experience now in a game where there's no pressure. With the job's done. You're playing a Watford side that have had no win in 7 games, so this could be the perfect time maybe to bring him off the bench maybe in the second half.
Yeah, I'd like to see it. I also saw Glenn in the live chat mention that Markello is injured. So if that's the case, that's a shame, because it would have been nice for him to get his first start. So in that case, I'm not really sure what we do. So I imagine it'd just be BTA or SA starting on the right-hand side if that is the case. And yeah, I'd like to see obviously Shepherd come off the bench, maybe give Kesler Hayden a start, because he's not really had many starts through literally no fault of his own, because he's been absolutely, when called upon, he has been very good. But Milan Van Ewijk for first choice right back, and no right back in this league I think gets ahead of him. So there's honestly no shame in that. And like I said in the last show, I wouldn't even touch the right back. But I think Milan and Kesler Hayden are good enough in the level above.
There's a point here from Kevin Ashby. Good evening, Kevin. About he thinks that we should be playing Kesler Hayden, Lati Bodier, Wolfenden, Bidwell, and Jamie Allen at least. I think that's a fair shout, because I think those players that he's mentioned there haven't had as much of a run out this season, especially Kesler Hayden, Wolfenden, Bidwell, and Allen. I think Lati's had is probably has featured the most. Do you think they'll all start, or do you think he'll go with his tried and, dare I say, trusted with the likes of Kitchen and Bobby Thomas and Grimes, etc.?
I don't think we'll see all of them start. I don't think you're going to do very well persuading Bobby Thomas to not play unless he's got a little knock or something. Kesler Hayden, yeah, honestly, I could see him starting actually. Wolfenden's been an interesting one, because if you want me to judge him as a signing, I think it would be fair to say it's been disappointing, because I do think that left centre-back role next to Thomas was there for the taking, because as good as Lati is, as good as Kitching is, they have moments where they go off the boil, and Wolfenden never really took that spot. So But that being said, he hasn't played a lot this season, and he hasn't moaned, he hasn't complained. If anything, he's been a very helpful influence in the dressing room, which is a testament to his professionalism. But I wouldn't have no qualms playing Wolfie. Final day and all that. You want to give people run-outs. Bidwell and Jamie Allen, I wouldn't have any qualms with them starting either.
Do you think Lattie's been a bit unfairly, not unfairly treated, I think it's the wrong word of saying, but do you think he's been a bit unlucky to be left out? And it's Kitchen's played the last couple of games.
Yeah, I think he's been a bit unlucky. I think obviously Kitchen did come in and I think Kitchen did quite well. Apart from he had a different game at Derby, but since then I don't think Kitchen's done anything like too bad. I think he has put in a decent display since coming back into the first team fold. With that being said, I think we all knew the moment Bobby Thomas was available, he's going straight back in because Bobby Thomas is the best centre back we have, and it's not even close. But unfortunately, that meant Latty possibly, unjustly lost his starting berth to Kitching through little to no fault of his own. But at the same time, I think Latty has been very good, and I do think that Kitching, since coming back into the 11, has done well too. But yeah, if you want to start Latty and Wolfie, then sure. Like I say, final game of the season, there's not really a lot at stake, and who knows? The fact that they've been given an opportunity might spur them on to try and have a good performance.
Yeah. All right. Glenn's made a comment here. I don't know if you know the answer to this question. He's asking, did we lose to Watford 4-0 wearing a chocolate kit under Coleman last game of the season? I can't remember what colour kit we wore, but I remember the discourse and the anger because Marcus Hall was on his way out. I think I can't remember if he was becoming a free agent or retiring, and he'd been at Coventry for a long time. And Coleman didn't give him the courtesy of having a run out in the final game when there was nothing to play for. And I remember being told that a lot of Coventry fans, well, they soured on Chris Coleman. Not that they liked him anyway, but treating a club legend like that, it kind of left a sour taste in their mouths. Yeah. Right, we couldn't have this show without talking about Carl Rushworth. A lot of speculation on sort of social media today about potential signing of him. What do you make of that? Do you think it's just what it is, speculation, or do you think there could be some truth behind it?
Until the club announced for signing, it is always speculation. However, I am optimistic it happens. I do think it is. I think it's very likely. I personally think Brighton, he has a year left over there. There's not really any long-term security. There is a club here who love Rushworth, appreciate Rushworth, want him long-term, want him to be our number one, want him to be our star goalkeeper going into the level above. And I think all of that, I think that's all very attractive to Rushworth. So I think all parties will be very cooperative. I think over the years, Brighton have always been very, very pleasant to deal with behind the scenes, whether it's inheriting loanees or buying players from Brighton. Case in point, Vinti Perez, where when we loaned him and bought him, Leo Ostigard, Yassin Ayari. I know Ayari didn't really work out at Cov, but you could tell that there was a really, really good player there, and look what he's gone on to do since his loan at Coventry. And obviously Rushworth, case in point.
Yeah.
So I'm confident it happens, but at the same time, it's speculation until the club announce it. So at the same time, just get excited, but don't get your hopes up. No,
I think we should just focus on enjoying the moment of being a Premier League side. I want to say a really nice comment. Thank you, Assassins Unite, for your thanks for the content this season. Great stuff. Really appreciate that. Right. I've got a couple of Watford guests, not one but two. I've got from the Do Not Scratch Your Eyes podcast. I've got Justin and Pete. Gentlemen, good to have you on. How are we doing?
All right. Cheers. Congratulations, by the way, gents, and everybody watching.
Yeah. Well, it's a shame we can't be speaking next season because I think you're a fabulous guest. I had you on before. So,
thank
but
you.
Anyway, obviously, from a Watford perspective, it's been a miserable season. Just the 4 managers this season. No win in 7. And I guess the only positive about it is that it's the last game of the season, right?
I think you've summed that up eloquently. Yes, exactly that.
Yeah. not the best performance at Millwall, 5-1 last. Middlesbrough even 5-1. Yes, I was thinking because Middlesbrough and Millwall been up there this season. I'm getting my M's confused, but Middlesbrough 5-1. I guess, are the players disinterested generally? Are they? Is there lack of motivation from the playing side? What's been going wrong? Tell us from a Watford perspective.
I think it'd be unfair to say the players are uninterested. I think the fans are uninterested, the manager's uninterested, the owner's uninterested, and the players are uninterested. We are in this kind of Groundhog Day or Groundhog season, if you like, where in a way, had we been threatened with relegation, there may have been something to play for. But we've repeated the same thing for 4 seasons now, where we've been, I don't know, 8th or 9th, somewhere within, kind of reach of the playoffs, as everybody says. And then we've just done exactly the same thing, which is just fall away. And we haven't won a game in April or May for, it's about 20 games now long that we just don't. Now, we typically fall away after the window closes or, kind of Christmas decorations are put away. But we're really specialising in the April thing. So for everybody who's, as you're mentioning earlier on, maybe kind of giving a few players some games, we've had more seasons started going after Watford than anybody else. Why shouldn't we start some careers at Coventry going? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Welcome. Enjoy Saturday.
The last time we played, I thought Watford played their part. I know we won the game, but the one player I thought stood out for me was Loser. I thought he was outstanding. Has he been your best player this season?
Justin?
Probably. Yeah, probably. Yeah. He peaked with the rest of the team sort of January, but he's the sort of player we get asked about on every opposition view in Ran Loser. And he is always sort of pointed out as being our best player. He probably will win Player of the Season, I'd have thought, when that is announced on... Is it announced Saturday, Peter? I think it probably is, isn't it?
I mean, they'll probably announce it, but I doubt they'll hear it through the chorus of boos, probably.
No.
But,
no.
Coventry fans celebrating. You can tell we're really looking forward to this one.
I do sense the excitement in your voices,
It's just going to be a weird game. Saturday.
For my money, Loser has been the outstanding player of the season, but it depends because there's always recency bias with everything. So you sort of like forget the fact that he was carrying the team for about the first, for me, 5 or 6 months really of the season, and it's more for my money, it's more from sort of March and February when he's dropped down to kind of you are human sort of levels. He's still been okay. But he hasn't been the creative force, the driving force, because he's had an entire club on his back for a long period of time, and I think he's probably he's got one eye on a move. Agreed. When we came to your place, frankly, and I appreciate that what you've done. I thought we gave you a game in the first half. I thought we were the better side, and we were 3-0 down because Thomas Asante and I can't remember who else scored. Just clinical, getting in on the goals, finishing it off, and we kind of played okay, but I thought we were better in the first half than we were in the second when we won the second half, and it was like, but hey, that's what good teams do. They survive when the opposition are, kind of working forward and putting pressure on. I think we tested Rushworth a couple of times, and obviously what a find he has been, obviously, That's been our season when we threatened to do good things when we were playing well prior to Christmas and prior to New Year. We would manage to. Nobody could find the keeper's gloves quite as well as we could.
No, I think I'll be honest with you. When I saw Watford play at our place, I thought, you know what? I think I was quite happy to win that game because I thought Watford were excellent, and I thought, you know what, they could get in playoffs this season. I was actually leaving that game thinking, you know what, they could do pretty well. They could take points off, the good sides of the league, but obviously it hasn't materialised. What is it? Is it purely down to the fact there's been so many different managerial changes? Would that be a reason why the form's been poor because there's no sort of continuity, or is it deeper than that?
It could be that.
It's that and a lot of other things. So, that game was the start of Javi Grazia's second tenure. He resigned a couple of days left to go in the January transfer window. because he'd been bought back in, kind of September, October time. I think it was October, wasn't it? Presumably with the promise of these are the players you'll get, these are the systems you want to play, so this is what we'll do. And they did none of it. It was always, here are players that you don't want that will offer you. And it gets into, and he wouldn't be the first manager for it to become a tug of war where it's like, no, I want the player I want. End of. We had the same thing with Ishmael. We've had the same now. And a lot of people looked at it and went, well, we did need players and you just kept turning them down. And that seems odd. But from his point of view, he was going, no, if I surrender here, then I'm going to basically I'm going to go like all the other Watford managers. In the end, he was one of the few who had the dignity to turn around and say, no, I'm leaving because I want to talk to the owner. I want to find out if he thinks this team is going forward is as good as he thinks it is. It's not. He left, and then we've brought in. Well, we had a couple of games under the interim manager, so technically it's 3. We like to count it as 3. I mean, if we counted the interims, my God, we haven't got enough fingers and thumbs between us on this podcast to count the number of Watford managers in the last few years. Yeah. And he did okay, and then we went and got Ed Still. We've run out of going and getting managers. We're now getting managers' relatives, because he's Will Still's brother, and he's been as effective. When we brought him in, he'd had 31 games, out of his last 31 games prior to coming to us, which are at 4 teams in Belgium, and it was Antwerp 2 games, Kortrijk, Eupen, and then before that he was at Charleroi, which is basically like the Death Star. We'll explain in a bit. Out of 31 games, he'd won 2. So out of his last 13, he's won 3. He's done better than he'd done previously, but he's done exactly enough to be, roundly not what Watford need. Because if you don't get wins and you don't get anything, you're on your way. And he's come in, and basically he's been the David Brent of the Watford myriad of managers who go around left, right, and centre. Frankly, he's a joke.
Is he? What's his contract situation? Is it till the end of this season? Ed Still's
He's given 2.5 years, I think, wasn't he? Was it 2.5 years he was given?
He was given 2.5 years, but logic stops. As people talk about, kind of what is the Watford gap, and obviously they think it's some, a little place in Northampton. It's not. It's the reality gap as you come down Yellow Brick Road, where the managers decide that Ishmael, you're 21st. We'll extend your contract. There's no rhyme nor reason. There will probably be a break clause in it, and therefore he will go with a lot less turnover. But yeah, he was declared to have had a 2.5-year contract. He didn't even apply for the job. He was offered it by the limpet mine of a parasite that we have attached to our club, who is an agent called Moji Bayat. And he operates at principally 3 clubs in Northern Europe, ourselves in England. No one else touches him with a barge pole. Trust me, they don't make barge poles long enough. You've got Nantes in Northern France, and you've got Charleroi. Yes, remember I mentioned them earlier on, Charleroi. And the level of shady deals, the number of, crikey, the words undisclosed fee, crikey, that's another one of those. There's a shock. So no, there's been so much at the moment that the fans are absolutely fed up with completely. I'm one of these who's actually, and I'm ambivalent to get into the Premier League, and I hope you guys have a great season. I really do. But we've been up there, and it's basically akin to, basically having something tender removed with a car key is normally the phrase I would use, but I won't do that on somebody else's podcast. And so I'm not worried about it, but they have absolutely driven the heart and the soul out of the supporters, and we are returning to kind of 1990 sort of level of attendance levels at this moment in time in terms of match day. Season tickets holders, mugs like us, will sign up and go, yeah, okay, we'll come and have a look at the devastation. But it's been absolutely awful, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that one positive I could say is that you're not battling relegation this season. But if you look to next season, is it realistic that Watford could be in a big relegation battle, or do you think there's enough there within the club to keep sort of at least at worst be around that mid-table, maybe bottom half of the table at worst?
I don't know. I mean, it's a possibility. It absolutely is a possibility that we could be looking at relegation. I mean, obviously, you've got the three that come up. You have to sort of look at them and see how they're going to do. And, there'll be a few more currently in the division that aren't going to do very well. But, the way things are going, our sort of form and apathy is spiraling down and down and down and down. And, I think, we could be looking at some very bad days next season if we don't buck our ideas up and change things. Change the mindset of sort of getting these young kind of not championship ready players in that look good on the eye, but when you put them in a team they don't gel and don't play as a team and that kind of thing. So we need to really rethink that this season, or we're in trouble next season.
Yeah.
Realistically, it's going to happen. Paul Merson used to say, if you keep walking, or if you keep going into a bookies, one day you'll have a bet. We keep flirting with it, with this absolute collapse after Christmas and New Year. One day we'll start off a season really badly, and then how are you going to get back around to it? And the answer is, we'll sack a few more managers. Well, yeah, because that worked the last 33 times, didn't it?
Yeah.
And the stupid thing is, we were involved in a bit where we actually finally managed to pin the owner down about 3 years ago. And I said to him at the time, to lose one manager seems unfortunate. To lose I think it was about 14 at the time, seems downright careless. And they were like, no, everything is right. Everything is in place for us to be a great club. The only thing we're missing is the right manager. And it's like, but you're recruiting the managers. But they don't see that. They don't see that they are the only common denominator. We've gone through hundreds of players bought in on loan from Udinese, and we've bought in players from all sorts of places. But it just none of it's working. And I appreciate that what you guys have had to go through over the last decade. Now you're, guys, enjoy it, love it, and just I hope you get the absolute most out of it. I really do, because you are now a little bit like Leicester were. I appreciate who I'm talking to here, so I imagine the sympathy isn't great at this moment in time. League One matches are available, obviously, on Sky next year. But they went up and did those things where we go, oh my God, people can do it. You've now done it again. Everybody's pointing and going, how do we become the next Coventry? The problem is we're more in danger, or we're showing more signs, more symptoms, and more manifestations of being the next Sheffield Wednesday. In terms of realistically hollowing out the soul of the club and having a downward spiral. And we'll see where we get to.
What's the financial situation like in terms of the losses? Is it pretty eye-wateringly bad, or is it?
It's typical Championship club stuff. We lost 16 million this year. The owner, I mean, we have to always say we do recognise that we had 6 years in the Premier League under him. We've got a nice, we've got a tidy stadium. Although don't look at the away end concourse too much, or ask for a beer. Other than that, it's very nice. So we have to say, look, we've had these things to have we been spoiled by that? Maybe, I don't know. But it's kind of, we've got 16 million debt. Sorry, we've got 16 million lost last year. We've got a total at the moment of around 60 million. We did it was what, 4 years ago, and I did the first review of it, and I had to read out to Justin and Carl, our erstwhile colleague, and explain to them that we were 138 million pounds in debt, which for a club the size of Watford is frankly ludicrous. And they've been whittling it down. So there has been good husbandry going on in that time, but the biggest issues have been the fact that the owners and the top level management come out and say things like, well, we're going to get rid of Tom Cleverley because what we want is an experienced coach. So we bring out an absolute psychopath from South America, who goes through everybody like a ton of salt. And it was like, oh my God, what is this guy? And lots of people are being revisionist about that and going, oh, well, he was really got us going. No, he was already on the sack when he suddenly he was effectively sacked after about 9 games. He had another 3 where they kind of convinced the players to at least try to play, and they did all right. Then we had Yavi. We didn't keep our faith with him, and we didn't give him what he wanted. Did he want too much? I don't know, maybe, but the negotiation happens before you pull them back in. And now we've gone with Ed Still because basically he's this agent's friend, and the agent is the friend of the owner. So it makes none of it makes any sense at all, it absolutely endangers us. There has been a lot to get that down, and now it is owner-owned debt. But you're going up to, the Premier League where the money figures, the turnover comes in, but we did a big thing about this again the other week. As far as I'm concerned, the Premier League is a much bigger bucket with much bigger holes in, and that's the danger. Obviously, we wish you all the best getting up there and doing stuff and making it sustainable. You've got the stadium now and you're filling it, and it hopefully will work very well for you guys. Looking at Watford, we're on the cusp of London. Probably most of our walk up depends on whether or not people have got Arsenal, Tottenham, Chelsea, or West Ham tickets. To be honest, so we don't have this natural catchment. A lot of the older people have moved, or a lot of the older supporters, like, naturally kind of move away from the club necessarily. But it's not the easiest place actually to try to necessarily get back to all the time. So our midweeks are failing drastically. So it feels like a club that is hemorrhaging at this moment in time. It's a club that is not doing enough to work with its supporters. And I appreciate that, Doug King has come in and done some things that people might have gone, oh, but he seems to have made the big decisions correctly. We just don't seem to have a sense of ourselves, a sense of identity, a sense of how do we play. We don't recognize what we're seeing on the pitch, and the players are by definition pretty transitory, because we've become this recruited player model where we bring in players and then we'll move them on straight away. And the thing that's kind of become the acquired thing is people are now entering the building like that. It doesn't really matter what they do whilst they're with the club. If you bring good players in and they do well for the club, and then on a rising tide all ships rise. It's not like that now. And instead, what we've got is a group of mercenary players who are more insistent on where their career is going than what they can do for the club whilst they're there, which would help their career. That's frankly where most people are feeling.
Yeah. I mean, is Elton John still the president at Watford?
President. Yeah, he's
president.
not actually active in doing much, though.
No.
Yeah.
He must. I love a penny for his faults, because he must be pretty sick to death of it all, mustn't he?
Well, the last time he kind of actively spoke about it, he did a concert at Watford in 2022, and he swore about it, and he said they must play with a lot more passion, and they haven't since then. It's been pretty much the same. So he wasn't very happy on that day in 2022. I can't imagine his mood's improved a lot since then, to be honest.
Yeah, but I mean, he's done his bit,
Oh yeah, I mean, listen, the guy's 80 years old.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's done his bit.
It would have been like, I don't know, in the late 90s or the early 90s, maybe, asking Jimmy Hill to come back and take over the club as an elderly gentleman. You've done enough. Enjoy your years and enjoy your family and your retirement. And that's exactly what everybody says for Elton. So it's sorry, we're normally happy and silly, but it's been this season. We can't wait for it to be over.
Just see it as therapy more than anything.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Just see it as that. Yeah, we're all very happy over here, but I appreciate you not so over here. Right, looking ahead to the game, are there any sort of youngsters, the Watford ranks, that Ed Still might look to introduce this game, that is pushing for his place? Maybe. Do you think there's an opportunity to blood a couple of youngsters in, or no chance that happening?
I don't think he's going to do anything different. This is his last game, as far as we know. I mean, I don't think there's been an official notification from the club still, has there, Peter, about Ed Still, but everyone else has announced he's going at the end of this game. So, I mean, if he wanted to, he could play wherever he wanted. He could play, Egil Selvik up front if he wanted to. But no, I doubt it very much. I don't see any reason why he would change it. He's on a hiding to nothing anyway. He's just going to keep the same team, I reckon. You're looking skeptical.
Well, he has played Amin Nabazada, who's a talented left-sided attacking midfielder, if you like. But our problem is we've got this kind of what's the phrase, paradox, if you will, between what the recruitment is and what we need. So when we played against Middlesbrough, we lost 5-1. It was an okay first half. It was, everybody actually mentioned that Coventry game when we played you guys, played well, but we were losing at half time. But the second half was absolutely ghastly. It really was. In that game, we had 9 substitutes. Obviously, we had a goalkeeper substitute, we had a centre-back substitute, and we had a forward. The other 6 all play left-sided wing kind of position, or could do, in that in the second line of attack in a 4-2-3-1. Every single one. So we've got 6 of them on the bench, and Nabizada wasn't one of them. So there's another one that we have. He did play in that game. He brought on Jack Greaves, who's a forward come second, kind of again second string forward, if you will, and he came on and did okay. And I think most people like him and are looking at him and thinking, well, maybe he can do something, as they are with Nabizada. But it's a little bit too little and a bit too late, and they're not the main problem. The problem is the actual players are not taking the manager seriously. Because if you think about it, if you fire your manager on average after 16 games, then if you're a player and you're on typically a 4 to 5 year contract, then you're going, well, you ain't going to be here soon. If I don't fancy doing that, I'll just wait and you'll be gone soon. And that's the problem. That's the mentality that we've got. And yet you've got a manager, because he's an owner, sorry, because he is Italian, where he goes, yeah, well, that happens all the time in Italy. And I expect to see a manager bounce. Well, they do. They go through the managers like I go through socks there. It simply doesn't work here. And the fact that everybody does it in Italy negates the effect. Here, it's like, no, stability has tended to build things. Look at Mark Robins, then followed on by somebody else who can build on the foundations he had, for example.
Yeah, I think that it was, I think where we are to where you are is like chalk and cheese, isn't it, really? I mean, you look at Doug King, as you mentioned earlier, he's been very decisive. He's not afraid to make unpopular decisions. But he made that decision to get Frank Lampard in. It's obviously paid dividends, and he got a lot of stick from our fan base on that. And I, for one, was like, give the guy a chance. Mark Robins, we weren't as great a job as he did, and he's a legend. He'll always be a legend at the football club, 100%. Yeah, but you can't. Where we were at the time, we were about 17th in the Championship in November. So I think Doug King. I'm not a supporter of Mark Robins. I'm a supporter of Coventry City Football Club. The football club is more important to me than a manager. No person is bigger than the football club, as the old saying goes. And Doug King, for me, made the right. I mean, I think the first thing was Lampard had as we all know, great career. Players instantly going to respect him, and I think that was the first thing. He was very humble, and when he first came to the club, he made it clear that he thanked the predecessor for the job he did. And I love that about him. He was no arrogance, and he just had that way about him that we could identify as supporters. Like he was just very popular, coupled with the fact that he's had a great career and players are instantly going to respect him. And I think the other side of the equation with Watford is as you say, you're going through managers like you're changing socks. It's just. I mean, I thought Tom Cleverley, did a pretty good job, and I don't understand that sacking, because I thought ex-Watford player, at least he's got some kind of connections to the club. Yeah, something there. You think give this guy a chance, give him, be patient. And I think that's the difference. We've got a very patient owner who will sack only if it's for a good reason, whereas obviously it's the opposite from a Watford perspective. And I think what you need is just new ownership. You need someone, bearing in mind Watford, as you say, right in the cusp of London. It's perfect location. I believe Vicarage Road is it's not a rented ground. It's owned by Watford Football Club. So he's got assets there. It just needs the right people to run the club, because it's a really good football club, Watford.
I mean, you mentioned the word asset, and that's part of the problem. Is he has been openly prepared to sell the club for quite some time now, but he wants increasingly large amounts for something that is. And if you saw any of the finance stuff that came out about the Championship, and indeed the Premier League, it's odd that you would turn down £130 million offer when the club owes you 60 million. And it's probably worth about 70 million in terms of its everything else. If you're prepared to pay the man his debt back and pay for what it's worth, you think it would go. In terms of the Robins and the Frank Lampard thing, there was a guy, Marshall Goldsmith, I think it was, and he wrote a book which was called what got you here won't get you there. And I look at everybody looked at it, and whenever we spoke to guys from Cov, we all said about Mark Robbins, fantastic, what a player, what a position. But you can look at the position, how he charted, how he came in, and I'm preaching to the choir here, but to come in and take you, as you say, from 17th to go into that Sunderland playoff position, that playoff place, which, let's frank, as a neutral, you should have absolutely won. And you were gutted and on the floor. That's something to have to recover from. And he's done that this year. And you've been there all the way along, bar 1 week, I think, something like that. Where you've done it. It's an outstanding piece of recruitment, positioning, supporting of the manager, and the team. And it seemingly has galvanized your club. All of that we are missing because we don't recruit managers very well. We certainly don't support them very well. The one thing we do that's world class is fire them on a regular basis because we've got that down.
Yeah, I know. Cameron, have you got any questions for Pete and Justin?
So am I right in thinking, because I know you mentioned like players on loan from Udinese as part of your recruitment, am I right in thinking that Udinese, they're owned by the same family, but father and son own the two different clubs?
Yes, we originally got bought by the Pozzo family. After about 2 years, I won't bother you with the shady story about it, but it transferred through to Gino Pozzo, and he's done, don't get me wrong, there have been good bits where he's done that. So the Gianpaolo Pozzo is the father. They're basically, Gino is the third generation of a company, of a family who had a big tooling company that they sold to Bosch. And since about the mid-90s, their sole business has been about football and player trading. So Udinese is certainly the centre of it. When they bought us, they'd also bought Granada in Spain, and they bought them up as a third division team into La Liga at the time. They're down, they may be down or thereabouts now, and they've done the same thing with Watford. So yes, it's the same ownership, and people have looked at a number of transfers that have gone, and boy, have there been a number of transfers between the two clubs. But depending on how your team is going, there were many times when Udinese fans felt like they were getting kind of the wrong end of the stick, and at the moment we're going, well, I don't think Udinese's team are any particular great shakes, and some of them previously played for us and weren't particularly great. Keenan Davis is one, and Christian Cabaselli played for us reasonably well, but was sort of he was never a big dominant centre back that you would want in the Championship, put it that way. And so yeah, absolutely, the connections are there.
Yeah. When you look at just a slightly different question on Lampard, just looking at purely as England fans, could you see Lampard one day being the England manager? Do you think he's got where it's at? Because I think personally, if he was to leave us, I'd give him my blessing if England wanted him. I don't think it'll be any time soon. I think Tuchel signed a contract, but as England fans, you'd want him, wouldn't you? I think he'd be the right person. I think he's got the right personality for the job. Not that I want him to leave us anytime soon, but I'm just thinking in long-term future, I could see him taking the big job personally.
Well, about 25, 26 years ago, and many pounds ago, I used to be one of the regional coaches working for Adidas and running a Chelsea development centre. And through the Adidas stuff, Frank was one of the branded Adidas players. So on a couple of occasions, we had to take stuff down and give them out to the other players, including like Joel Cole and Good Johnson and all of that. Yeah. And he was just the loveliest guy. He was just so that, so many players, when you get to see them, you realise that they are, if anybody ever punctures their ego, they'll never operate. This guy just seemed to be, really lovely, down to earth. I think everybody saw he did a great job at Derby. I think if you look at his two stints at Chelsea, they were difficult times for Chelsea, and he kind of got them out of trouble on a couple of occasions. And I think he was unfairly maligned in that. And of course, what he's done with you guys, well, I've already charted it. It is fantastic. I don't know about England, because it's such a it's not like any other management role, international football. You play 2 games and you suffer for 3 months waiting for the next one to come round. although it never feels it. It always feels like we're stopping for an international break in the Championship, doesn't it? I'm not sure. Yeah, he would. I'm sure he would take it if it was given at some point at the right time. But he's got an awful lot yet left to prove in the domestic game and really show what he can do going forwards before that'll happen, I think.
Yeah, I think personally speaking that he will be. And I guess my slight worry as a fan is if next season, if a team sacks the manager of the Premier League after about 6-7 games, that his name's going to be linked to another club. But I'm hopeful that he will stick with us. He's done a great job. He's got us back. I'm a firm believer though that if we stay up next season, that's a greater achievement than winning the Championship. I think that staying up in the Premier League is an enormously tough challenge. I mean, I look at last season when Burnley went up and they were winning games week in, week out, and they got to the Premier League, they've got 20 points and they're down. And that's, I mean, my personal fear is we do need to invest significantly, in my opinion, to stand a realistic chance of staying in the Premier League, because it's a massively tough, challenging league. But at least we're in it. We're here, so I think at least we're going to the Premier League with a stable ground, stability on and off the field. So I'm really excited by it, but obviously let's see what happens this summer. But I don't look too far. I don't want to enjoy the next couple of weeks or so.
Absolutely, I think the problem with the Premier League has become the fact that you have to almost now spend the amount that will put you into like Forest have done. They've got a points deduction. Everton got it on a points deduction, but you need to do enough to be able to get the number of points you need, plus that points deduction effectively. And you only have to look at the Championship to see how much tighter the screw is going to get with the IFR, with the Independent Football Regulator, because Sheffield Wednesday have gone down with a points deduction. Leicester have gone down with a points deduction, and but for the grace of God, West Brom might have done, but of course they bottled that good and proper by giving them a bit of a not quite the same. Never mind. So you have to wait and see. But good luck with it. Good luck with it, most certainly. With the exception of Sunday. Oh, who are we kidding? We don't care with win, lose or draw.
Well, it's a party. I think we'll have. If I do get to bump into you, we'll go for a quick drink. So I think it'd be a good natured atmosphere between the two sets of supporters, really. So, what was I going to ask? Oh yeah, next season. Okay, so there's two questions. A two-part question. Are you excited by A, the fact that they're extending the playoffs by a couple more sides, and B, are you potentially excited by the thought of playing Tottenham Hotspur or West Ham in the Championship?
Well, with the extending the playoff things, it's just going to be even more disappointing when we don't make it. If we don't make the top 8, that's going to be even more disappointing. Spurs, yes, it'd be good to play them again. It'd be nice, and it's more about them playing Lincoln and teams like that, isn't it? Really, that's everyone's looking forward to. But yeah, it's not too far away. Spurs, we can get there on the train fairly easy. So it'd be nice to play them again. But let's see how the season ends first before we count that as a fixture next season.
Yeah,
everybody is hoping. Let's be honest. Everybody's hoping that it's Tottenham that come down, don't we? Of course we do. Quite right.
I think they've been the top flight since '74. I want to say around that time.
76. Yeah, 76. It was.
Almost,
I think.
right.
I believe.
Yeah.
No. I think you're right. You could be more right than I there, but that was where it was in my brain. So I look forward to that. The playoffs. It wasn't broken. Why are you trying to fix it? The answer is because we want to again avoid a number of dead rubbers. How you can maybe just about get into the top third on the last day, the top third, and potentially go up in place of the team who finishes third. No, the further football gets away from being a meritocracy, the more it becomes pointless. And I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to take the Americanization of it and go, oh no, we've all got now into the postseason and we've got all these other games and isn't that great? But the problem is American sports don't have relegation, as a meritocracy element to it. It's not that. It's a print money factory with franchises that move about if they don't get enough money. No, I don't like it. Personally, I'd still have the top 3 go up and sod the playoffs, but it's been something there. People have enjoyed it. You know what it's like to go there, kind of go to Wembley and not win. It can be a horrible bloody place to go to, but I suppose it's a good spectacle and it's money, so that's going to talk.
Yeah, it is the worst place. It is the worst place, the loneliest place when you lose at Wembley. It's not something you want. When you win, it's the best feat in the whole world, and that's football really. And I think they voted against VAR in the Championship, which I think is a really positive decision, because I'm not looking forward to VAR in the Premier League next season. I don't know if it's because I just don't like VAR, or it's the people that operate VAR, maybe a bit of both. But I guess that's one positive for the Championship. But the referees, although we might criticise referees, they're making an honest decision and a judgment. And I'd rather let the referee make that final decision for me as a fan. So I guess that's one positive for the Championship.
Yeah, get rid of it. For me, it's the fact that when the ball hits the back of the net, everybody checks the linesman's flag isn't up, and then cheers and goes mental. Whereas, they said that VAR was not going to be the thing that would reduce the number of goals. It wasn't going to be there to try. But that's exactly what it's been. It's just been a can we cancel another goal by basically bringing out digital screens and applying rulers and going, no, you were a millimetre offside. And it's done it to such a level that Arsene Wenger has now brought back in, which I hope is in place next year, the kind of daylight rule, so that actually any part of you that is level is level. I'm sure they'll still manage to make that purgatory. It'll just be another ruler on another part of the body, but at least it would translate to more goals being scored. And whoever thinks that is a bad thing at FIFA wants shooting, but mind you, a lot of them want shooting as well anyway.
Well, we felt that frustration when had you right that goal disallowed against Man United in the FA Cup.
Oh God, yes.
That was just I mean the uproar was just it was just if we had the Arsene Wenger rule back then, we would won that game. And that's had you right for me though. He's probably the most offsided player in the Championship. He's always offside. That's what blooming frustrates me about him, even though he scored 16 goals for us. But anyway, that's another story. I'm kind of waffling on a bit. Right, let's go to predictions for this game on Saturday. We'll go with Justin. What's your gut, heart and head telling you about this game?
Well, we're not going to win. You'll win, and we'll just whimper off, and we'll regain and regroup next season. I think we're probably going to lose 2 or 3-0.
Pete,
I wouldn't be at all surprised if we I see you playing considerably better than Middlesbrough when we played, and they gubbed us 5-1, and it was comfortable. It's at our place. Yeah, 3-1. I reckon you'll be comfortable.
Cameron?
I believe we're currently on 93 goals scored, right? Am I thinking 93 goals scored?
Yes.
I do apologise because I'm literally meant to be going on your show later, so this might not be a good first.
Don't worry. We won't.
But I'm going to be pretty mean, and I'm going to go 7-0 Coventry just so we can get that 100-goal mark.
I will tell you now. I will tell you now. And obviously, this is too much information for anybody of a Coventry persuasion watching this. We have a prediction league of which Cameron will be taking part. I can tell you now, you will not be the first participant in that who has said that Coventry will win 7-0. That kind of probably tells you where that goes. And when I tell Justin that's coming from Wendover, you'll know what an optimistic view that would normally be. Wow. And he's gone all the way down to the bottom. So, yeah.
He's really feeling it, isn't he? Wow.
You have every chance. Fill your boots, probably.
I'm going to go 5-2 Coventry.
We won't score 2 goals. Who's going to score our 2 goals?
I'm having a go at the guest. He's being nice.
There'll be 2 own goals.
Who's going to score our 2 goals? We haven't got any goals.
Tom Ince might come off the bench.
Well, yeah. If Tom comes off, then maybe he scored a hat trick on New Year's Day. So
yeah. A loser might get a goal. I don't know. You know,
maybe
a Banquer from a corner, maybe.
Banquer. Well, if it's not an own goal, maybe. Yeah.
Most of our players are wearing flip flops, and we're sponsored by Ombre Solaire. I think you know exactly where we are, basically.
Yeah. Well,
Sun Factor 50, all of them.
Yeah. Well, guys, it's been great having you on. Thank you for your time. It's been I really appreciate your time, and thanks for your insight. I wish you well for summer and next season. So yeah, fingers crossed that things get sorted at Watford. I know what it's like. We know it's like as Coventry fans of dealing with crappy owners. You just got to stick together, really, and that's what being a football fan's about. You're not always going to have good times. We've certainly not had a lot of good times. It's been the first time in 25 years of real pain that we're back where we belong in the Premier League, and I'm sure Watford are a really good club. Some really good people there. So I wish you well for the summer. I hope Watford have a good championship season, and hopefully maybe joining us the following season as and we have you on again as our guest. So fingers crossed that will happen.
Bless you.
Thanks, guys.
That'd be our pleasure. Everybody have a great time. See ya.
Yeah. And if we do bump into you, I'll be look forward to have a drink with you at the game. All right. So so that's I guess. Thanks again to everyone. Thanks again for all your comments tonight. Really appreciate it. We'll be back early part next week because we've got a few things going on this weekend. So there will be no show this weekend. Just so you're aware. Needs me to say thanks everyone. Play out Sky Blues, and we'll speak to you very soon. Good night.